Hi there and welcome to your second video, which is of course your bonus training. So I thought that I would just jump straight in because I'm guessing by now you will have no doubt received your Warrior band. And I'm hoping that you've already been using it. But we're going to get straight in with this bonus training. And I thought I would actually introduce a little bit about myself. So you can see here, we have to put the little credential things on, don't we, these days? So I'm a transformational coach, a mental health expert. I do a lot of speaking up and down the country in the UK, also overseas, and recently best-selling author of the Warrior Wellbeing Toolkit. Which is actually a book collaboration. It's myself and 15 other experts in the wellbeing and mental health arena, and we've all come together to create a book that has a wealth of knowledge, lots of different tools and techniques. So do check that out. It is available on Amazon. But seriously, it is a great book, because something that I am so passionate about is there is no one size fits all when it comes to our mental health and well-being, which I'm sure you completely agree with. And you can probably see down there at the bottom, you're like, Kiss fan? What? So number one, Kiss fan. Yep, that old rock band, the men that dance around in the large platform boots and rock the curly hair and makeup. I got brought up on it. And I must say, it is well and truly in my blood. So we can thank my dad for that one. But yep, I've gone as far as traveling over to Australia in the past to go and see them. And yeah, I think I'm going to be a Kiss fan through and through. So if you're with me, I'm currently doing a rock sign to you. If not, apologies. So there's a little bit about myself. And I know I briefly touched on this in the first video, and if you have been following us for a little while, you no doubt know a little bit about my background, but it is safe to say that I'm certainly not the same person that I was, let's say, not even 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. And one of the biggest things that completely revolutionized my life, completely changed my life, was using the CBT band. I had been to counselling. I even attended a few sessions with a psychologist. And there was a few different therapies that I tried out. And I must say that CBT was the one that really hit home for myself. And as I said, no one size fits all. I would always say, go try different things, see what works best for you. But that CBT technique led to creating the Warrior bands, because it is something that you can take on the go. It is something that anyone can use, no matter how old you are, whether you're a child, whether you're a teenager, an adult. My nana and granddad love wearing their bands, seriously, because I think no matter what age, we can often find ourselves having worrying thoughts. If you're a kid at school, we worry about exams or what other people may think, what peers think. If we're married, older generation, then we can worry about things like the future, or for a lot of people, we worry about things in the past that we can't even change anymore, but it happens. And by using the band, as we shared again in the first video, it allows you to take control. It allows you to raise your self-awareness, recognize what you're saying to yourself, and choose to think differently. That's where the power lies. The power technically sits on your wrist. It lies in your hands. It's great for anchoring in those wonderful warrior thoughts, which is what we're going to look into now. So if you want to, feel free to make notes on this. This is actually a training that I give, as I said, sort of up and down the country. This is part of a workshop that I do deliver. So that's why I've been super excited about sharing this with you alongside the band. So we have an average of 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That's a lot of thoughts, I'm sure you'll agree. And study by National Science Foundation has actually revealed that 90% of those thoughts are habitual. So what does that mean? It means that we have those same thoughts on repetition, day in, day out. 90% of those 50 to 70,000 thoughts. And the research also evidenced that an average of 80% of those thoughts are negative. So I'm sure you're probably sat there now, and don't get me wrong, you might be really, really working on your personal development. This might just be something that's an additional tool for you. Or you might be sat there nodding along going, yep. But when we actually put figures on it like this, I'm sure you can start to see that thinking positive alone is just not going to cut it. When we're having those kinds of thoughts and 90% being habitual, what this actually means is there's something in the brain, there's a system that we have being humans that's built into us called automaticity. And what automaticity does, the purpose of it, is it's the brain's way of preserving energy. So if we go back to caveman times, really what our brains and our bodies are actually meant to do is hunt, fight, run away from predators, and mate and protect, nurture. So have families as well. So if we think we've got all the additional things from society, the pressures of jobs, relationships, social media, money, all the additional things on top of that, our brains are still pretty ancient. Yes, we may have the most modern iPhones in our hands with literally a computer at our fingertips, but the way that our brains function is still back in the day. So automaticity is a protection mechanism. By creating these automatic thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, we actually preserve energy. Because can you imagine having to learn to tie your shoelaces every single day? No. Can we imagine having to learn the alphabet and how to drive? Thanks to automaticity, it recognizes what we focus on. That's why practice is so important. It takes a good few times to do something for it to stick. Because once we start to focus, the mind goes, okay, yep, they're doing that a lot, must be important, let's make it a habit. That's as simple as it is. It doesn't care if it's a positive thing or a negative thing, if it's pleasurable or painful. If you focus on it enough, it will create a form of habit. So we're not going to go too much into the neuroscience in this training. There will no doubt be more in the future that I'll happily invite you to. But I thought that would be good to have a bit of a background as to what can sometimes feel like chaos in the mind. Like, let's be honest. But that's just because we're having those same thoughts day in, day out. And yes, I am a Kiss fan, which is a rock band. But the way that I sort of envision it is, imagine when you first wake up in the morning and you turn off your alarm. It's a little like pressing play on a CD that has 50 to 70,000 thoughts on it. 90% of those are going to repeat every single day, only they are heavy death metal. So we need to start to recognize what's on those tracks. What are we saying to ourselves? What is that habitual self-talk in order for us to start to change it? So I hope that this all makes sense so far. Please, please, please do make sure that you write down any questions that you may have and you can fire them over to me after, whether that's via email or you'll find us on social media. But do make sure that you get any questions answered. And also, if you're having any little light bulb moments and you're like, oh my God, yes, that makes so much sense. Again, please do share because it might help somebody else. So let's have a look at that CBT mindset model. So you can see there on the right-hand side of the screen that you've got the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So every thought triggers a feeling or emotion. Let's call it a feeling or an emotion. Every feeling or an emotion triggers a behavior. Every behavior, we're going to loop it back up to the beginning, then results in a thought. So can you see there that even if sometimes we might feel that we are waking up and we've just got this heaviness, we've got that anxiety there and we don't quite know why, it feels like the feelings come first. Or you might just snap at the kids or a spouse or a colleague at work and we instantly think, God, why have I just done that? It might even feel like the behavior comes first. But the truth is it all starts with a particular thought. And our job, what we're going to be doing together to awaken that warrior, is to begin to recognize what is it we're saying to ourselves? What is it you're repeating to yourself on a daily basis? So that is the first question that I want you to write down. And whether you do this with us now or you come back to it after, you can always pause the recording as well. But I want you to start to think, okay, what do I say to myself on a daily basis? What are those typical things? Is it, God, I can't be bothered today? Is it, I'll never be good at that? Is it, why does it always happen to me? I'll try it tomorrow. I'll start Monday. I just can't get rid of this anxiety. Like whatever that is, let's just get crystal clear. Write down as many different things as you can. The next question, how do you feel? So what are your most common emotions? So let's have a look at those thoughts that then lead on to those feelings. How do you feel? Is it anxious? Do you usually feel worried? Are you calm and relaxed? Are you happy and upbeat? Or do you often feel distressed? Overwhelmed is a very, very common one. Chasing our tail. There's lots of different things which we can describe, but I want you to get really clear on not only how you feel, but what are your most common emotions. We tend to end up forming patterns of emotions that follow particular thoughts. And lastly, how do your thoughts and feelings affect your behaviors? So what is it you're doing? Are we skipping meals? Or are we maybe tucking into the biscuits a bit too much? Are we fulfilling ourselves with food? Are we smoking? Are we turning to drink? Are we snapping at people? Are we exercising? Over-exercising? Lack of exercising? Do we feel that we can't remove ourselves from the sofa and we just keep Netflixing, if that's a word? But I want you to really start to have a think, what are your common behaviors as a result of those feelings and thoughts that you've noted down? Because you'll no doubt start to see already a common trend. So again, any questions, please do write them down. And if this is making sense to you, I want you to pause this recording and really give yourself some time to write down these answers. So we're going to have a little look now, only briefly, but what is in your limiting belief luggage? So firstly, what do I mean by limiting belief luggage? If we imagine that the suitcases that you can see on the screen, each holds something that you believe to be true about yourself that limits you in some way. So again, let's go back to almost childhood. And you no doubt at some point, this is a common example, but let's say you painted a picture at school and you were like, this is the one, I am so proud of this, I can't wait to take it home. And you took it home and you were met with, oh, and I don't know, it might be a parent, it might be a guardian or a sibling, sort of turned it around upside down and had a bit of a giggle at it. And I don't know, they might have said, what on earth is this? This cannot go on the fridge. You know you can do better than that. Bam. A limiting belief can be formed right there and then that you're not good enough, that you can't draw. So if I was to say to you, what are you like as an artist? Like, can you draw? You will tend to find that people will say either, I love drawing and I'm good at it, or cannot draw. And actually, a lot of people haven't tried for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. It comes from those beliefs that we embed from quite a young age. Running. This is another really, really common one. Some people will literally say, I'm just not a runner. Well, pretty sure if there was a fire or if there was a grand at the end of something, like we can physically run, but if they have a limiting belief there that they aren't a runner, if that makes sense, then their limiting belief will be, I'm not a runner, therefore I can't run, therefore I won't run. So if there's a charity race that comes up, let's say 5K, 10K, and some of the people in the office are doing it, if you have a limiting belief that you're just not a runner or you can't run, are you likely to do it? Likelihood is no. So our limiting beliefs have a huge impact on our daily decisions, the daily choices that we make. They also massively impact our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The way that I like to see it is all of the limiting beliefs from our past. It might be past relationships, education, career-wise, so many different areas of our lives. We're carrying those around with us on a daily basis. And I'm sure you'll agree, they are blinking heavy. So we want to make sure that we are starting to also recognize not only what our self-talk is, but which of those are limiting beliefs. What beliefs do you have about yourself that are basically true? Because when we believe something, it becomes true to us. Somebody else might say, come on, you can run. I've seen you run. You used to run all the time. Or you're a great artist. I saw you sketching the other day whilst on the phone. It could be anything in life, but it will always limit you as long as you believe it to be true. So start to have a think. Again, this is a whole other workshop that I do and really touch with clients. But I wanted to sort of open up this box for you. If it's something new, fantastic. Start to recognize what are your limiting beliefs and where are they holding you back in life? Because one by one, we can start to let go of that luggage that is no longer serving you. And the band is massively going to help you with that. So here is some really common worrier self-talk. Remember, the aim of the game is that we're going to be changing our worrier self-talk. You can see some examples there to warrior self-talk, because our worrier self-talk keeps us paralyzed. It holds us back. It makes us believe that either we can't take action, shouldn't take action, and as a result, we don't. Whereas warrior self-talk, now that's empowering. We're coming on to that very shortly. So common warrior self-talk. What if I fail? So we're about to try something. Oh, do you know what? What if I fail? What will others think? The fear of judgment, that is such a common one. What will others think? I'm not good enough or qualified enough. I'm simply not good enough. It's all right for them. Have you ever heard anyone say that? And it's that thing, oh yeah, but it's all right for them. I'm too big or too small. I'm too tall, too small. I'm too fat, I'm too thin. Again, these are common things that we hear people say about themselves. What if I can't handle what happens? So some people believe that they have a fear of success. A lot of people have a fear of failure, but a lot of people have a fear of success or a fear of reaching a certain level and then not being able to maintain it. What if I lose everything? That fear of what if I do take the new job, or I do speak to my husband or wife and say I'm not happy. Like, what if I lose everything? I'll start next week. Ever had that Monday mindset, or the mañana mindset as I call it? Tomorrow. It's like, prouder, I'll start next week. And next week becomes next month, that then becomes next year, and so on. So have a think if any of these trigger some thoughts for you. If so, write them down. Because we know as a result of having these worrier thoughts, it results in anxiety and also low confidence. Again, it's almost bringing it back around to those limiting beliefs. And I love this picture because when we are in that place, when we're having those worrier thoughts or any thoughts, we are always at a crossroads. We have a choice. Only when we're coming from a place of feeling like a worrier, we never really know which way to go. We end up almost like a ping pong. We're bouncing from one idea to the next, or I can do it, no, I can't do it, which then forms the anxiety. We never really know which direction we're going in, and it can make us feel like we're stuck where we are, feeling how we are. And the effect, it affects our confidence. So this is where I'm hoping that you have your band on your wrist. So you've no doubt heard me say this before, but if you've not got a watch on, wear your band on your non-dominant wrist. Reason being, it feels different. That's all it is. The reason for that is that it feels a bit different, therefore we notice it more. And we're just going to recap over the 3 our formula to retrain your brain. So if we remember, step number 1 is recognize. We're going to begin to tune in and recognize what is it that we're saying to ourselves on a daily basis. Whether you need to set an alarm on your phone, this is something I did. I had to set an alarm on my phone 4 times a day. Every time the alarm went off, I would turn it off and go, right, what was I just thinking? And half the time, it wasn't pleasant. It was, why did I do that? What if I fail? But worrying or overthinking about something. So start to recognize. The band can also act as a reminder. So if you're driving along or doing the pots or sat at the desk or something, and every time you notice the band on your wrist, see that as a trigger that's going to make you pause just for a moment, tune into the mind and recognize what you're saying to yourself. Next step, snap. You might hear mine. We're going to give it a little snap. Then we're going to replace that thought with something more empowering, that warrior self-talk. And just as a little recap, what that snap does is it interrupts the habitual thought pattern. As we said before, we're on that habitual loop. We've got those 50 to 70,000 thoughts on replay going through our minds, almost what feels like subconsciously, and majority are. But when we snap the band, it brings our awareness into our consciousness. So rather than being in a place of unconscious, it brings our awareness to our conscious. So then we have a window of opportunity. That's where we can then begin to replace those thoughts with something more positive, something more empowering. And you guessed it, repeat. Like anything in life, it takes practice. So this is where we're going to repeat. Whether you get a bit of a sore wrist, whether you're like, oh, wow, I've done this 50 times already today. All that means is you've got a very embedded thought pattern. And what we need to do is it's almost like chipping away at it. Because the more you begin to focus on a different things such as I can do this, I am worthy, I am capable, I will try my hardest, I'm going to start today. What that's doing is forming a new neural pathway in the brain. Therefore, it's retraining your mind. It's retraining the brain physically to think, feel, and as a result, you'll behave differently. So let's have a look at what that warrior self-talk and beliefs look like. I can do this. They tend to start with I can or I am. What if I do succeed? I love this one because it's almost like an open-ended question. We often say to ourselves, what if I fail? And then the mind comes up with a million different scenarios of what could happen or might happen. And let's be honest, very, very rarely does happen, but let's flip that. What if I do succeed? What if I do make it happen? What does that look like? Go there in the mind. Use that imagination. Go there. Other people's opinions are none of my business. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Other people's opinions are none of my business. That's like a mic drop moment, isn't it? Because if we can really start to embed that belief into our minds, that fear of judgment, that fear of taking action, that fear of going into the gym on your own, starting that new class, speaking to the new person at work, standing up to your boss, all of those things, if you're in school, trying something new, what other people think is really none of our business. So we just can focus on ourselves and it takes that pressure off ourselves. I am good enough. Very simple, but I am good enough. I am unique and that is my superpower. I deserve to be happy. You really, really do. I am guided and supported. So that's almost a little bit more spiritual. That's being open to guidance from outside of ourselves. I'm guided and supported. Or that might be more of a physical. You might have a peer support. You might have a coach. You might have a mentor. I am guided and supported. I can handle anything life throws my way. Now that is a powerful statement. I am an action taker. And lastly, I am enough. So if you haven't yet, you can screenshot, write these down, pause the recording, and these can begin to become your own personal affirmations. If you feel that they resonate with you, use them. They might feel a little bit alien at first if you're not used to saying these kinds of things to yourself. But the reason it feels alien is because your brain hasn't created the neural pathways for them yet, which with practice, it does. And just like we've embedded the negative self-talk, and we've got good at that, right? We can begin to embed this warrior self-talk. And over time, it then becomes natural. It just feels good that even if something does happen, you're like, come on, I've got this. And that's just your natural way of thinking. Or if you do go down a more negative route, we're able to go, hang on a minute, I recognize this. I'm guided and supported, or I'm unique, and that's okay. Like if people judge, and it's none of my business. So we can start to have that as our go-to way of thinking. And the result of that, well, freedom to be yourself and live a happier, more fulfilled life. Like that's what it's all about, isn't it? We might think that we want the grand cars, the next best job, the new clothes, but really, if you really think about what happiness, if we strip everything back, that leads to fulfillment. That leads to freedom to just be yourself and feel happier. And when we start to change that internal self-talk and how we view ourselves, that's what happens. We begin to feel more fulfilled. We're grateful for much more in our lives as well. So it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. Now, I know you may have been fed that it takes 21 days, and it's something that you'll hear. Les Brown, you've got Tony Robbins, Oprah, you've got all the big names out there that really push on this 21 day, but it's turned out to be a bit of a myth. There's been some recent research shown at the University of London by Dr. Lally that has revealed on average for automaticity to kick in and for it to not just form a pattern, which it does around the 21-day mark, but for it to form an embedded habit, it takes an average of 66 days. Now, this is very much dependent on the person and what habit we're implementing. But what I believe to be true is when we have that benchmark, it's just 2 months. If we're going to start speaking to ourselves more kindly, quit smoking, start running, like whatever those things are, overcome that worrier self-talk. If we can practice it for 66 days and we know that that's going to become a habit, like we can do that. I personally have seen, and with working with hundreds of people now through this process, if I say 21 days, bam, we'll do it for 21 days. We say 50, we'll do it for 50. With 66, but we know that on a neurological level that works, bam, we haven't got to think about it after. That's where the automaticity kicks in. So I know I said this up at the beginning, but positive thinking alone, it just isn't enough. So you must change your internal wiring system. Remember, it takes 66 days to form a new habit, but only seconds to make the decision that enough is enough. I want to feel fulfilled, free, and happy in my life. This is what it's going to take. Or this is one of the steps that we can start to take at least, is recognizing what we're saying to ourselves, and let's change it, because your thoughts, they run your life. Because we know that your thoughts affect your feelings affect your behaviors, therefore your thoughts create your reality, which is what we're looking at now. So I don't know if you already follow him. If not, I highly, highly recommend checking out Dr. Joe Dispenza. And this is a quote that I just think is fantastic. But each time you make a new choice that is in alignment with your future, you are priming your brain to install the neurological hardware to actually think, act, and feel like the person you want to be in the future. So this is what I was saying before about giving you the power of choice. If we feel like we don't have the choice in how we behave, what we think, we end up feeling like we're a victim to our circumstances. When we feel like we're a victim, we lose hope. When we lose hope, that tends to lead to depression. So every time that we remind ourselves that we have a choice in how we think, feel, and behave, you can think, what does that happy future version of me look like, feel like? What does that person do? What choice would that person make right now? We can start to embed that. So I came up with something called the Warrior Code to go alongside the bands. And the Warrior Code is A, B, C, D. And what this is awareness. So we must start with that awareness. B is belief. You must have belief in yourself. Belief that you are worthy of more. Belief that you are guided. Belief that you have the support available to you. Next, C is courage. The courage to make it happen. The courage to step out and take the action. Courage to wear your band. Courage to commit to the 30 plus minutes to listening to this video and implementing the different steps. Courage to tell others about what you're doing. And next step, D, is discipline. The discipline to wear your band every day. The discipline that even if you don't feel like it, or do you know what, I'm just in a mood and I'm just going to stay as I am. We must have the discipline to choose to think differently. It's still going with it, having that discipline, whatever that is for you. And E is evolve. Giving yourself the permission to evolve into this warrior self. The permission to evolve into that happiest, fulfilled version of you that you know deep down, like you wouldn't be listening to this. I honestly know that for a fact. You would not have committed to this, especially this far in, with your band, listen to this video, if now isn't your time. I honestly believe that people, things come into our lives at specific times. And the fact that you're here today, you are already evolving, and it's trusting the process that you're going to continue with that. So once again, this is the process we're going to be going through over the next 66 days is what I'm going to recommend. You could do it for as long as you like. I personally still wear a band like 5 years on. If I go out without it, I feel naked. But what can you use your band for? So as we know, we can use it for overcoming anxiety and that negative self-talk. There's also some research out there, a lot of research with the CBT model, using the band technique, that it can help you with quit smoking. Because every time we think of a cigarette, every time we think about going outside, we can start to change our thoughts. Quitting smoking is focusing on the behavior. We want to get down to that root cause of the thoughts, which is what the band allows you to do. Breaking negative habits. I might be biting nails, pulling hair. There's so many different things that people naturally struggle with. So breaking habits, food disorders, fear of public speaking. The fear of public speaking is the number one phobia that people have. And that naturally leads us on to overcoming phobias. So I would definitely recommend using your band for as many different things as you need. Just know it's there. It's a tool that can support you throughout all of your life. And I'm definitely going to recommend that you share it with your friends, with your family. And it isn't actually on here, but you can hashtag Awaken the Warrior and share some pictures. If you're up for it, be bold, have that courage, take a picture of yourself wearing your band, share it on social media, let people know what you're doing. That's something that scared the living daylights out of me when I first started doing my personal development. But now as a coach, it's something that I'm a huge advocate for. When you let your circle know what you're doing, you're going to have people supporting you. At least people know what it is you're doing. You might even inspire them to follow you and do the same. So if you haven't already, I'm going to recommend that you join the Facebook group, Awaken the Warrior Within. It's a free Facebook group. And for further support, if you're like, do you know what? I can recognize I've got some real deep limiting beliefs here. I think I need some more support. You can visit the website, which is www.carolanreed.com. And there's additional services, coaching information, workshops and programs and talks that you can have a read about on there. There's also some free guided meditations on there, a personality test, blogs. There's lots and lots. So go ahead and have a visit. And if you want to reach out, there's a form which you can fill in, and I'll be happy to jump on the phone or have an email with you. And as I shared before, you can also get the Warrior Wellbeing Toolkit, which is available on Amazon on Kindle and paperback. So as I said, Do feel free to reach out. Let us know how you found this training video. Keep in touch. Let us know how you're getting on with using your band. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to wish you all the best with your journey. Know that you are not on your own. You never have been, even if we felt like it, but you certainly never will be moving forward. Join the community. Feel free to spread the word. And I'm so grateful and excited for you to be a part of the Warrior movement. And I wish you all the best. So once again, thank you from myself, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon.